Good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to today's session. Myself, Namrita. I'm Director at Exin Certification India Private Limited. With more than a decade of experience, I manage the entire life cycle of certification for IT professionals in India and abroad. A brief about Exin would be that uh, we were originally established in 1984 as a foundation by the Ministry of Economic Affairs in the Netherlands. The Exin Foundation was tasked with creating an examination for training in the automation and mechanization of administrative information processing, known as AMBI in Dutch. Over the years, this foundation developed into what is now known as Exin. In the past 3 decades, Exin has gone on to create a number of IT standards. Most notable of these would be ITIL, Prince 2, ISPL, IT Practical Diploma, and currently, Exin focuses on responding to market trends with certifications such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, DevOps, Agile Scrum, VeriSM, SIAM, and many others. Today, we have with us Mr. Apurv as our guest speaker who heads service management practice in TCS. In his 25 plus years of career, he has played many roles involved in strategizing and building new offerings, future mode of operations capabilities, and helped customers in driving transformation. He is author of award-winning white papers and has built some exciting tools. He is also passionate about system design, traveling, exploring new cuisines and culture. He is based out of Delhi. Also, we have Mr. Rasdeep as our key speaker with MTech in Applied Electronics from Anna University. He is having 16 plus years of corporate experience, primarily in the telecom sector. His previous engagement has been with Railtel Corporation of India Limited, Reliance Communication, Ericsson Global, Vodafone Global, and Tata Communications. He specializes in ITIL, ETOM, Six Sigma, ISO 9001:2015 lead auditor, and Agile methodology. He is also a co-founder of Cumansis, which provides a wide variety of service and consulting to help with the challenge of implementing BMP framework and many other areas. So what's our agenda for today? Well, we will get to know what is the National Digital Communication Policy 2018, what is digital transformation. We'll also share about Industry 4.0, how to develop a roadmap to implement digital transformation through 10 simple steps, industry insight to implementation of digital transformation. This will be covered by Mr. Apurv. How to develop digital transformation foot soldiers within the organization structure. What is the corporate hierarchy structure for digital transformation implementation? Corporate hierarchy structure, job profiles overview, digital transformation certification program hierarchy structure, and then we go for the question answer round. Well, before I hand over to Rajdeep, I would like to inform that let's make it interactive as much as we can, and please feel free to type your questions and we shall address it post the presentation. Over to you, Rajdeep.
Thank you. Thanks, Namrata. Thanks for that introductory note. So, the basic idea for this session or webinar would be to give an insight into how digital transformation is getting implemented within corporates. Apart from that, we try to see in case if digital transformation is happening in an organization, what are the benefits that you have? And in case if you want to drive a digital transformation within an organization, how would your employees be trained around? So we'll start with the National Digital Communication Policy 2018. We have put it at the very beginning. The reason behind this thing is because see, digital transformation is surely nothing which has been based upon a particular national policy. But yes, as a part of the framework within the governance structure in which we work within the corporates, it's very important to understand how the government is putting is or emphasizing on a digital transformation what is the roadmap that government is putting in terms of its own organization within the whole ecosystem. Secondly, what are the job market demand? What are the technical capabilities that are there? What are the basic nitty-and-gritties that are part of the digital transformation policy? So we have put these things at a very beginning in order to focus precisely on what the government thinks and what the framework that government has put forward in terms of digital transformation being implemented across the ecosystem within the society. So some of the final points probably you might be knowing, but we try to focus on some of the things which rigorous work is going on. One portion is whereby universal broadband coverage of up to 50 Mbps for every citizen, providing 1 Gbps connectivity to all the Gram panchayats in India by 2020 and 10 Gbps by 2022. I have myself seen these kind of things happening in the ground, and we can see that at least for the first benchmark that the government of India has set up, that is reaching for 1 Gbps connectivity across Gram Panchayat. At least 60 to 65% of that work has already been completed in terms of ground laying of the infrastructure. Apart from that, there would be investment of around somewhere around 100 billion USD in the digital communication sector by 2020. The most important portion is the generation of jobs. Nearly 40 lakhs jobs would be developed or created by 2022. Now, when we say the jobs will be created, obviously there has to be a skilled manpower in place to cater to these kind of jobs. And when we talk about emerging technologies, what are the things primarily that we are talking about? We are talking about Internet on Things. We are talking about 5G. We are talking about blockchain. We're talking about machine-to-machine communications, and we're talking about artificial intelligence. Most of these areas, there is a lot of work that is happening as a part of the whole restructuring of a corporate culture within corporate companies. So yes, the emphasis from the government has also on these kind of emerging technologies and utilization of these kind of technologies within the corporate. Next slide, please. Okay, so I believe all of you are aware of what exactly digital transformation is, but as a part of our journey, we'll start with the basic thing around digital transformation. So digital transformation is the process of using digital technologies in order to create or modify the existing business processes, culture, and customer experiences to meet the business and market requirements. So there are two things related with digital transformation. Either you're creating something or you're modifying the existing set of things. What exactly are you modifying? You're modifying your business process. You're modifying your culture, corporate culture, and also you're changing or enhancing or modifying or creating a new customer experiences for all the customers that are associated with your particular company. So digital transformation is not only the utilization of these emergent technologies and making your processes aligned. It's more or less also aligned with a change in a corporate culture. You change the whole mindset of the corporate culture. The reason behind is that because in terms of implementation, most of the companies are now falling back to the digital transformation in post-COVID scenario. The focus of digital transformation implementation in post-COVID scenario is to build digital foot soldiers. That's a very important term, and it's a very important analogy that is being used within the corporates at every stage of the corporate. So you cannot have digital transformation implemented in an organization by catering to a particular section or the particular hierarchy of the organization. You have to involve each and every soldier within the organization. The guy who's serious, who is working at the last mile, also needs to be involved in some way or the other with the digital transformation implementation. So the basic idea around a successful digital transformation is that you need to have digital transformation foot soldiers at every stage of the organizational structure. And what we are talking about, as I mentioned earlier also, We are talking about something with artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchain, Industry 4.0, various science, agile methodology, and information data security. So if you are working on these kind of, if you're working on these kind of technologies, if you're imbibing these kind of, I would say, governance mechanism, I would say guideline for developing the daily transformations. Ideally, the results of this are very beneficial for any corporate. Now, in terms of deployment, what is very important? Very important thing is business processes to be aligned, create new business processes. Cultural change has to be there, and you have to give a separate new customer experience to the customer in order to sustain and retain your customer. That is a very important thing. Yeah, next slide, please. Now, what is Industry 4.0? Why we mentioned digital transformation and Industry 4.0 separately is precisely because of the understanding across the both sectors. Ideally, digital transformation is something which is an overall platform of making changes within the organization, and Industry 4.0 being a subset to that one. So let me explain it in a way. So ideally, the fourth industrial revolution or Industry 4.0 is the current transformation of traditional manufacturing and industry practices to the latest smart technology. So ideally, Industry 4.0 is catering to the manufacturing sector, and digital transformation is the overall overhauling of any company. So in that sense, in Industry 4.0 is a subset or one of the portions of digital transformation. Ideally, when we talk about this with the corporates, we give a viewpoint that digital transformation is more related with service area, and Industry 4.0 is more related with the implementation of digital transformation in manufacturing sector. So this is how we try to differentiate this one when we are talking with the manufacturing sector corporate companies representatives. But ideally, if you see Industry 4.0 would be digital transformation for any manufacturing sector, but only not confined it to the machineries. But yes, it also involves the change in the culture, it also involves the change in the business processes. So in that way, Industry 4.0 is a subset of digital transformation in manufacturing sector. If I'm able to make my points clear. The primary focus on the use of large-scale machine-to-machine communication and Internet of Things deployment is to provide increased automation, improve communication, and self-monitoring, as well as smart machines that can analyze and diagnose issues without the need of human interface. So it's not a complete cutoff of human interface, but human interface will surely be there. But at certain point of time, the machine should be able to take certain decisions by himself or is based upon the surrounding data that that machine is able to receive. So yes, in that sense, Industry 4.0 is something which talks about automation, improving communications and self-monitoring within smart machines. Next slide, please. Now, ideally, we will jump to 10 simple steps that are there for the implementation of digital transformation across any organization, uh, be it a manufacturing unit, be it the service sector. What primarily would you look at the steps to be done in order to bring about a digital transformation? To answer that one, what we have referred to is variation. Uh, um, we can have separate sessions around variation, but just to give you an overview about variation, variation is the methodology that is being utilized for the implementation and the execution of digital transformations across corporates. So you can say it to be a framework, but it's probably a guideline which is being utilized for the deployment of digital transformation across corporates. So as per variation, what are the 10 simple steps to be done within a corporate in order to implement digital transformation? So the first step is to establish a digital leadership. We'll try to explain it with a process flow chart, which will enable you to understand it in a proper manner. But let us review this thing. So for the first and foremost thing is that you have a digital leadership in place within your corporate in order to drive and implement the digital transformation. Secondly, you have to establish a governance structure, which will primarily be an enterprise governance structure. Then define what would be the approach for transformation. Approach means your business strategy. How you are thinking about your business strategy. What are your business strategies in the next 5 years in order to implement digital transformation? Then organize to embrace change and digitalization. Somewhere at the very beginning, I was mentioning that digital transformation has got more and more things to do with the corporate culture. The culture needs to be changed if it is required as a part of the digital transformation. So that is the thing. Fifth is develop and embed collaborative and consumer centric behavior. So you are trying to concentrate on the customer experiences. You're trying to give a separate new experience to the customer. See, surely it's a there is a lot of competition in the market to retain your customers. Now you have to do something out of the box. You have to bring some sort of rabbit out of your hat in order to sustain your important clients. So for that point of view, if you are able to give a separate kind of customer experience to your end customer, that holds very good. Then organize to learn or learn and relearn. I believe if many of you have gone through some of the skill set related initiatives of government of India, I believe this is a phase that I heard from our respectable Prime Minister of India also. Learn, learn, and relearn. That is the basic of your skill set development. Then you have to create your current management view, management mesh. That's the activity which is part of the various. I will give you a brief around exactly what that means. Then once you have done, then you have to move to the desired one. So here you will find a flavor of as is to be methodology being implemented. Then you are closing on to the gaps in order to come up with the new target operating model. So primarily, this is the way 10 simple steps of deploying digital transformation. Yeah, next slide, please. So the next slide is how digital transformation is implemented across the corporates by Cumensis as a whole, taking into consideration the 10 steps of variation. So if you see this one, this is the important phase of the discussion whereby we are exactly giving a roadmap of how to implement digital transformation across your corporate organization. So the first and the foremost thing is to define the digital leadership. First of all, is the number that get a feedback from everyone? Are they able to see the process flow? They are able to read it, or for maybe I can take a feedback from you. You are able to read the boxes.
Yes, yes, it's readable.
Okay, fine. So the first and foremost thing is to define the digital leadership. Now, when I'm saying digital leadership, it would be somebody from obviously from the first, second, and third level of the organizational hierarchy structure, primarily who have worked in cross-functional entities, and primarily who have a decision-making authority with them. So those people are the ones who have to be identified, and that digital leadership team has to be developed. Second, you have to have a governance in place, a governance structure which will monitor as well as investigate the implementation and the advantages of the digital transformation at every stage of the digital transformation implementation. So every time a box or a step gets over, it goes back to the governance body to say that okay, these are the achievables that have been a part of this one. Are you comfortable with this one? Then let's move forward. So a governance body has to be in place, which will which will govern and which will also monitor the implementation of digital transformation. Then the next step is that, do you have a digital transformation related business strategy in place? Ideally, the answer in 60% of the corporates is yes, we have, but 40% says no, we don't have, or we have, but we like to relook into this. So if it has a no, then that digital transformation related business strategy for next 5 years has to be developed. Now, once that has been developed, now the next phase is to check the existing business operation models with the business strategy guidelines to check and understand and analyze the gaps. Where are the gaps and what needs to be done? So this is where it comes to a scenario of as is to be. We are trying to see the operating HR management system with respect to the digital transformation strategy. We are trying to see the operating processes. We are trying to compare the operating tools and management models. We are trying to see all these things. We are trying to see how your people, process, and tools are aligned with your next business strategy for the next 5 years. That will give a gap analysis sort of thing. So a gap analysis and an RCA of a current operating model comes into the picture. Once that is there, a target operating model needs to be developed. Now, once a target operating model is there, you have to deploy it. Now, once deployment happening, you have some process realignment. Here is a portion where we have for digital transformation training comes into the picture. Your systems are getting enabled with digital transformation through automations. And then once these things are done, this again goes, the outcome of this would be a set of reports, a set of dashboards, which would be taken again by the governance body. And this whole cycle goes on. So this is how you're using some of the principles of as is to be, all the principles of variation, and some of the principles of Lean Six Sigma or Lean Six Sigma, whereby we are using a DMAC methodology in order to deploy our digital transformations across corporates. This is how you can start your digital transformation journey, and probably you can have variant of this one. This is a basic idea. You can have a variant of this one being implemented across your organizations based upon your own experiences, right? Number to the next slide, please. Okay, so we will now leave it up to Apurvaji. Apurvaji, first of all, thanks for joining in, and probably we'll like to have your insight into how digital transformation is happening. What's your thought process around? What are the advantages around it? Over to you, Apurvaji.
Thanks, Ravdeep, and good morning, everyone. My name is Apurv Agarwal. I hope I'm audible to all of you. So I have been precisely given 10 minutes for this particular discussion. And for this 10 minutes, I thought not to have too many slides. In fact, I have only one slide, the slide which you are seeing right now. So my intention is to share two things in this 10 minutes. First 5 minutes, 6 minutes, I want to talk about what is Business 4.0, what is our thought process, TCS thought process on Industry 4.0, and how we are embarrassing it with the Business 4.0. And in the next 4-5 minutes, I want to give you few examples for our customers, even within TCS, how we are making use of Business 4.0. So this Business 4.0 is TCS thought leadership framework. It's a brainchild of our CEO, Mr. Rajesh Gopinathan. When Rajesh took over from Chandra as TCS CEO and MD, it was a era when this entire digital transformation was at its peak. And Rajesh and the CEO office, they come up with this Business 4.0 framework. When we saw it for the first time, we find it very simple. But over the years, we can now realize the power of this framework. What you see here, there are 4 boxes on the outside. These are nothing but the business behavior. When we talk about digital transformation, yes, there are pillars like cloud, intelligence, automation, and agile. But most important is how it is influencing your business behavior, how business is making use of this digital transformation, this entire levers of Industry 4.0 to actually change the business behavior. There are few examples. I will perhaps take those examples as well while I'm explaining this business behavior. Uh, Let me start with the create exponential value. That's one of the foremost business behavior that we normally talk about. This is where we mention about how industries can make use of this entire consumer service value chain. It is not about just being at the end of the service chain where you provide the outcome, but the entire journey of providing services to the customer. There could be multiple levels where you can create value. So the idea is to create exponential value to increase your business portfolio. Uh, there are multiple examples you would have seen by yourself. Uh, we are currently working with one of the airline industry in Japan, and that airline industry is working with other 70 different companies which are not from the airline but are different services. The idea is to create a value chain for the passenger or a traveler, starting from booking the ticket and they're starting their journey till they reach their home. And you would have seen most of the airline, or even for that matter, other businesses within TTH, travel, transportation, hospitality. You would see a lot of these kind of examples where airlines are not just selling, say, air tickets. They are even selling you burgers. They are giving you the shopping experience. They are even arranging for your pick up and drop. Even a lot of other things are bundled as part of their services. So the idea is to create exponential value, but all else you can do for your customers. The second is how comfortable you are in taking the risk. That's again a very important part. As when I was doing my management study, we were told about risk control and risk management. But now there is a new thinking within Industry 4.0 is to take calculated risk. In fact, every organization, their growth can be determined by taking these kind of a risk. What is the risk appetite? We always talk about they need to think big, and there are few examples again in this area. Look at blockchain. Ravdeep talked about the blockchain, and financial industries could be very much benefited by using blockchain. We are working with customers like in India, ICICI Bank or other global customers, where they have actually deployed these kind of a technologies and they can see the immediate result. So it is more about taking those calculated risks and see what could be the potential business behavior, business benefit. One mantra here is that you need, if you are going to fail, fail fast. And many of the businesses which are running this transformation journey, it is not about building a spaceship or creating a plan for next 5 years, 10 years. Yes, there has to be a vision, there has to be strategy, but most of these transformation projects have to be agile. It could be like a 3 month, 6 month, or maximum 1 year kind of a project. You execute these projects, you deliver it. In case you see you are not making the right direction, you are not going in the right direction, you can make the course correction. So if you are going to fail, fail fast so that you can switch the direction. So that's kind of a second business behavior that we are driving. The third is enabling the mass personalization or tailoring to the mass personalization. So there are two interesting things here. One is we are talking about masses, but at the same time we are talking about personalization. So we always talk about creating the market segments and create offerings specific to that market. Earlier, the segmentation was used to be done perhaps based on the geography, gender, or age group. But now with technology, those segmentation can be done even at the individual level. Look at Facebook or Amazon's. uh, th- You get a personalized homepage. You get products based on your experience or your last purchases. So even there are banks now which can create you credit cards or provide services based on based on your need. There is a bank who is ready to provide you the entire services, create a service portfolio based on your personal need. So that kind of a services are available. So it is providing a kind of a personalized services at an individual level, and that kind of a segmentation we are talking here. And the fourth most is leveraging the ecosystem, which we believe is the most important, because now it's more about how you work together. It's a globalized world. Companies are working together. There are a lot of startups in the recent world, and you would have seen how these startups or even the global companies work with these startups and make use of each other. Paytm is tying up with a lot of e-tailers. Even Amazon, if you see, it's a kind of a platform. While there are thousands and millions of vendors which are working in the background. So that's how they are making use of this entire ecosystem. So these are the kind of a business behavior that we find in the industry. And obviously, there are four pillars, the technology pillars driven by this Industry 4.0. So we have identified these four pillars: cloud, intelligence, automation, and agile. Automation, it has to be the first and foremost. And now we are talking about the artificial intelligence and the machine first model. So this is the time of industry where a lot of things can be replaced by machines which can think, which can take decisions. Within TCS, we talk about machine first delivery model. So everything will first go to the machine, and machine will have the right to refuse. So if machine cannot do anything, then it will come to human being. So we are talking about that kind of automation and delivery models. Cloud, obviously, most of you would know how important these kind of technologies. Agile providers, the cloud providers that kind of agility and scalability that things can be done in minutes, not in days or weeks. If someone needs a new virtual machine or if you need the entire system, that could be created, in a very lesser time. And one very good example I can give of cloud and automation is right now we are working with one of our customers, especially in this COVID-19 situation. They are into pharma industry, as a pharmaceutical customer, and we are using a 3D printing technology to manufacture ventilators. So the traditional way of building manufacturing ventilators were kind of a time consuming, and it's kind of have its own limitations. And they adopted this 3D printing technology, and now it's their production is 4x. So they can manufacture almost 4 times what they were doing last year. So that kind of a scalability we can see by having these kind of technologies. The third is more about the intelligence. When we say intelligence, obviously it's about the business intelligence, knowing our consumers, our customers, and bringing that intelligence into our IT systems, our IT processes, and also bringing that intelligence into our machines. So when we create any automation platform, the importance is to make that platform intelligent. Many of the smart city projects where we are working, uh, the intelligence is become apparent, because unless you know your consumers and their need, you can't really have the effective systems. So bringing that intelligence into your applications, your systems is one of the important technology parameter. And last but not the least, agile. whatever the parameters or technology changes we're talking about, it has to be done in a more agile manner. So these are the four things which have actually driven this entire business 4.0. And in the center, you would see a kind of abundance. We believe there are again three building blocks that we call capital, talent, and capabilities. So there is enough capital, talent, and capabilities available in the industry. Um, Most of you would have seen the last annual general meeting of Reliance Industries, and Mr. Mukesh Ambani. He mentioned that in last 1 decade, Reliance made money through oil. But now, as the industry is changing, in the next 1 decade, perhaps that they are going to make money with data. So data is going to be our new oil or new source of money. So the message is there is a lot of opportunities available with these technology platforms, and it's all about making use of those technologies. There are few other examples I wanted to quote. Something we did recently within TCS when we had this COVID-19 situation. Uh, this lockdown happened all of a sudden, and we have to work on this something called a new normal. So TCS actually used our own business 4.0 strategies and these pillars to seamlessly transform into this new model. uh, we actually had a very minimal impact while we moved to this lockdown mode or this work from home kind of a model. And if you have heard our CEO and COO, we are talking about 25-25. That we believe in TCS that in the future, in coming few years, we would need only 25% of associates in the office. So remaining 75% people can still work from home. Even we are talking about centerless operations. So I can deliver projects from any center, any location. It's not about doing a project from Delhi or Mumbai or Bangalore. It depends on where do we have the talent, where we have the good resources, opportunities. We can deliver projects from that location. So centerless projects, 25-25 is that kind of a vision we are talking here. So these are some of the things I wanted to share with you as part of our TCS Business 4.0. And I will be more than happy to answer your queries later in the session. Thank you guys, and over to you, Rafi.
Thanks, Apurvaji. Thanks a lot. It was really insightful. I also got to know many things around. And the kind of work that TCS is doing, kind of examples that you gave, were really interesting for me also. More so the airline one that you shared is good idea, sir. That you have your tickets, then you take a Uber car, or whether want to take a hotel. So Uber, make my trip, Uber, and then hotel bookings, Booking.com coming at the end of the year, reaching your home. So all these apps coming together and giving a simple service to our customer. That's a very good idea, and it was really interesting to hear about it. Okay, so moving on, and Apurva, thanks for sharing all these things with the audience here. Thanks a lot. Moving forward, the corporate, no, as I was mentioning at the very beginning, and probably it was mentioned within the flowchart also, it's very important that you involve members from every hierarchy of your organization structures into a digital transformation to be successfully implemented. You have to take the concerns each and every member of your organization, and then you have to move forward. So it cannot be confined to the very top of the hierarchy of the organizational hierarchy. It cannot be that the middle level works upon and or the lower level of. So everyone, starting from the entry level, senior level, mid senior level, then to the leadership team, every vertical of this needs to be involved in a successful digital transformation journey. Now, in that scenario, how you're going to do, how you're going to have this, what probably would be your structure for implementation of a digital transformation approach, probably would be starting with the basic bifurcation or basic profile development. Profile, somebody should be there who would be a digital transformation officer from the senior leadership level. Under him, there would be a lot of digital transformation specialists. Ideally, these guys would be some second level or third level of the management, taking part from various departments. Ideally, these should be the guys who have cross-functional experiences. Then there is something where we reach out to the lower level, which is below 3 years of experience, and there we develop a digital transformation champion profile. So these are three sets of profiling that probably needs to be developed within an organization structure to successfully implement digital transformation. So you're having a digital transformation officer at the hierarchy. Then we have something called digital transformation specialist. Then we have got something, digital transformation champion. You can name it the way you want it, but the basis has to be our basis is the experience, work experience that we have got. Next slide, please. Okay. Okay. So for this is Kivansis and Exim specific is that we have developed specific certification program for these particular hierarchies. So we have a digital transformation leadership program, which is known as a digital transformation executive certification program. We have got something which is called specialist certification program for the mid senior level organization guys. We have got something for the entry level, which is known as champion certification program. So as a part, you must have noticed when I was mentioning about the flow chart for the digital transformation at the very lower top end when we are implementing digital transformation, there is something where we are training the people across the organization on digital transformation methodology. So yes, that can be implemented by these set of certification programs, specifically developed for catering to those profiles which I mentioned. Yes, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is a kind of job profiling that we would see in case the employees are getting have a specialization across. I've taken a simple example: artificial intelligence and big data analytics. So from this slide, probably what we're trying to do is that we're trying to develop a roadmap from entry level towards the senior leadership level, how the journey would be for a particular guy who's joining the organization. So each and every one has a hierarchy to be followed. We start with the entry level, then we have the mid level, then have the senior level and the leadership level. And we have the various families across. We have architecture, we have administration and governance, we have engineering, we have analytics coming to the back picture. We have got some strategic portion happening together. So this is primarily to give you a visibility across the job profiles and their roadmap within an organization which are imbibing digital transformations. Now the profiles work can differ. You can add one or two profiles to come up with that. Depends upon how that customization happens for an organization based upon its own ways of working. But this is how the roadmap is for a guy who's entering into entry level and how it moves towards the senior level. So we wanted to give you an overview around the job profiles. Yes, next slide, please, Namrata.
I think we are done. Yeah.
Okay. So the idea that we wanted to give you three things that we tested for. One is that in case if you want to do a digital transformation within an organization, probably what should be the flowchart and what should be the roadmap of doing it. Then we heard to Apurvaji sharing his experiences across how exactly it is beneficial for an organization, not only from internal point of view, but also for the customers who are part of your organization. So whenever you're interacting with your customers, and if you're able to say that, okay, we have digital transformation, these are the number of digital transformation leaders across the organization. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay. So these numbers matter a lot when you are having interactions with the customer. So the customers understand how confident or how good are you in implementing digital transformation across their organization. So that's a value add that you're doing when you have these kind of hierarchy structures and these kind of profiles within your organization. So those were the things around. Then we told some of the programs that needs to be there. So I believe we are at the end of this session. We'd like to take questions if any are there.
Well, I saw Balakrishnan had a question, so I'll try to unmute him so that he can speak, or maybe he can also write the question in the chat box. Balakrishna, are you able to hear me?
Yes,
I am
Namrata.
unmuted. Yes.
Yes,
So
yeah,
I understand that you have some questions. So if you may please ask.
yeah, sure. So first of all, I would like to share the feedback because I do know that the slides and the presentation, which was presented by Apurva Rajdeep and in coordination with you, was a really great slide. But what I would say is I've been VariSM professional certified since last 2 years, and also I've been working on SIAM methodology. And I do know that the slides that we discussed are basically into the service strategy and the service design. What I can see here very clearly, and as Apurva said, that the service management is of digital. We do agree that incident problem change is coming, and we have to adapt to these changes within a fraction of seconds, which is done by management mesh from VariSM. So I'm just giving a heads up that this module is a really good module that can be implemented and which can fetch really good results. That's one. Coming to the analytics part, if we don't have IoT or something like that that can be worked upon, surely. But if you're using some tools like Power BI or some Tableau or something like that, that can be interfaced, and basically the end output is the customer should be happy. Okay. So overall, a very good presentation, and I adhere to this that these are the methods that are required to run an end-to-end service management. And to be very specific, it is not only IT service management. As Apurva said, that they are working for a pharmaceutical firm and they are working on the service management. Yes, it can be worked into various sectors like pharma, oil, retail, any sector. Like initially it was targeted only for IT, but it's a diversified portfolio. Like you can go into an apparel industry, you can apply a service management, because that apparel industry will try to understand the persona of that person. Like he will try to understand the transaction, what is the clothes, what are the types of brands does that person purchase, and based on that the further prediction will be done. And also we discussed on the data. Yeah, data holds a very large impact. Like based on the data, certain relevant outcomes can come, certain predictions can come. You can forecast, you can plan, you can do the capacity planning. So many things. I extremely say that this presentation was the need of the hour for all our associates who has joined this conversation. And I'm also open in such forums. Like basically, this is a very good forum that we discussed. And my question here to Sir Apurval is, I don't think like all the methodologies are required to bring into an ecosystem. If we have three methodologies, like we have VariSM, we have SIAM, we have IoT, we have blockchain, right? I think those were the four blocks that we discussed, right? So in certain scenarios, I understand that we require AWS infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, which is required. But in terms of automation part, if it is required, that can be done by the provider itself. That's my question.
Okay, thanks for your kind words. So my take is that typically when we talk about technologies and these kind of a transformation levers, uh, these things should not be driving the discussion. We rather start from the outcome that we want to achieve. So discussions are typically, even with our customer, is what is the outcome we want to achieve? What are the, even if you see in our slide, we started with business behavior. What are the areas where we can influence the business outcome? So it's normally the business or the outcome driven, and then we get into the technology levers. And you're right, it's not about everything we need to put in place. We have to see what is the maximum or the optimal utilization of the technologies. It could be IoT, it could be blockchain. Every industry, is going through different transformation. As I was mentioning, we see a lot of potential with blockchain in our banking and financial services industry. We see a lot of use of IoT in our manufacturing and retail industries. So different technologies can influence different businesses, but the discussion or the starting point should be more from the outcome that you want to achieve. Even when Ravdi was presenting that digital transformation roadmap, we started with what we want to achieve by building the strategy and then getting into the technology part of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in the strategy design and the service strategy and design, we are targeting the outcome. And once we target the outcome, then we plan how to go for it, right? And then we can implement the CSI on the operations part or on the change part. And then again, if required, we can change the strategy and design.
Exactly, yeah. That's where we talk about agile. It's
Yeah.
not about now you strategize one and you design once. No,
Yes.
being in an agile mode, it has again becoming a continual process.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, Valkrishna, if you have noticed in the flow chart, it's not going. It's not starting somewhere and then closing somewhere. It's a loop that we were taking. So,
Yes, it's a
yeah. So if you can see the slides around, Namrata, can you go back to the process slide? No,
I think that was the slide. This one, right?
process flow chart. Flow. Yeah. Just behind this one. Just behind you.
This is hierarchical structure.
No. Go back to the just before this. Yeah, this one. Yeah, please stay here. So if you notice, this flow is not like it is starting somewhere and ending somewhere. It's a loop that has been given. So you always do have a CSI being implemented as a loop. It is going back and again cross-checking your digital transformation business strategy. So the good thing about this process is that the flowchart is that each and every time it goes back to see, do we want to make some change into the strategy? Is working well with the strategy? So you're putting a loop around that. So every time you're going back and referring to your document, which is your business strategy goal, to see that, okay, do I need to make some changes? Is it there? So when you're putting this into a loop, it becomes a CSS sort of thing for you. You're going back again and referring and then again doing it. So it's not like it's starting from somewhere and ending somewhere. We have provided a loop into this.
Thanks, Rajdeep. Thanks, Apurva and Namrata, for answering my queries.
Thank you, Balkrishna. And I believe we have no active question yet. So what I would do is keeping the time constraint, so I would end it up, and then of course we are open to more questions and any kind of questions are there. So we will anyway share this presentation, post this webinar via the registered email for this webinar. So thanks again, Rajdeep and Apur, for sharing some great insights and examples on digital transformation. I'm sure everyone had some takeaways from this learning session. So thank you all of you for joining us today, and I really assume that this was an insightful session. Definitely thanks for the feedback, Balkrishna. I would look forward to all of your feedbacks after this session. You will be given with the feedback form. Maybe you can also write to us showing interest for any other technologies that you would like to hear from us with sort of case studies and so on. So please feel free to write back, and have a good weekend. Stay safe, and bye-bye. Thank you, Rajdeep, and thank you, Apurva.
Thanks, Namrata, for having me, and thanks a lot.